Fernandes.
Sir, the honourable member has raised a very important issue. And several times this has figured in the House, either through questions or through such interventions. I'll reply point by point rather than make a statement. Insofar as the strength of the pilots and the shortage, well, we are at the moment holding 95.9% of the sanctioned strength in the IAF, in the Air Force, 95.9%. And insofar as the combat squadrons are concerned, we are holding 100%. So there is absolutely no shortage of pilots. And insofar as the combat squadrons are concerned, we are very well equipped. So I want the House to rest assured that both in terms of recruitment and in terms of positioning them, there has not been any kind of tardiness or any kind of a shortfall. There is, however, an effort now to see that we get better talent. And that is where, out of the 60 pilots who are brought in for training, a large number get into the transport squadron and the helicopters. We select the best available talent for the fighter pilots. And insofar as these accidents are concerned, it is true that there have been a large number of accidents. These accidents have been on even when the MiGs were less than 20 years old, perhaps even when they're 10 years old. In fact, in the decade of the 60s, the number of accidents averaged 40 a year. In the subsequent 2 decades, that is the 70s and the 80s, they averaged 30 a year. In this decade, which is now coming to a close, the average has been 22. So there has been...
In comparing the flying hour task, your task also has reduced from compared to 60 and 99. Flying task of the squadron was much larger in 60.
Well,
if I'm right.
Well,
if I'm right, I really don't know
I
the
think
real task.
we have a larger Air Force today than we had in the 60s
Flying
and
task.
70s.
Flying task has reduced.
Including the flying tasks. And over the years, there has been an improvement for a variety of reasons. After all, in the 60s, it was a very young Air Force, learning, training, making mistakes. In the 70s, it improved. In the 80s, it improved further. And now in the 90s, it has acquired a capability which you saw demonstrated. You have been a pilot, you have seen action, and you know how... yes, but Rajesh Pilot takes his surname from pilot. His... So therefore, it is not the flying task. It is much more today than it was earlier. It is the improvement in the quality of the man, the man behind the machine, which is responsible for reducing these accidents. Now, you made the point that invariably it is the MiGs that crash, or it's a large number of MiGs out of 18, 15, you said. Well, almost 80% of our Air Force is MiGs. From MiG-21, three categories of the MiG-21 to the MiG-29, 80% of the force is MiGs. And invariably, it is these aircraft which see most action, whether it's in training or in other areas. And for training purposes, the Honorable Member himself, sir, knows the real problem of not having an advanced jet trainer so far. Advanced jet trainer was the subject of a long investigation by the Standing Committee on Defense. The Standing Committee considered this question over a period of almost 4 years and finally gave its report at the beginning of this year. Now, sir, the proposal for an advanced jet trainer was first mooted in 1982. And the Air Force got into action immediately to identify what they thought was the best available in the market. Invariably, one had to import these. The idea was to buy them overseas because we don't produce those things here. But from 1982 till date, we have not been able to procure those advanced jet trainers. Last year, when this matter came up before me, we started working on this at a greater speed than had happened in the earlier phase, for whatever reasons. Money must have been one of the considerations, I presume. But for whatever reasons, this matter had been not attended with the required urgency for almost 10 or 12 years. And we have now reached a point where those two aircraft that had been shortlisted earlier, they have again been shortlisted. And not only that, we have set up a committee, and I happen to be the chairman of that committee, so that we can take an early decision on this. So the aircraft have been identified, the choice has to be made. There are certain norms that the Air Force has worked out, and on the basis of those norms, the Air Force is now evaluating which of the two would be a better option. Because as aircraft go, as AGTs go, I'm sure the Honorable Member and those who are aware of this branch of our defense requirements know that both of them are supposed to be more or less on par insofar as their capabilities are concerned. But there are other factors which are also to be taken into consideration. The Air Force is doing it in very close collaboration with the Ministry of Defense. And as I said, we have a committee which is headed by the Defense Minister himself, and a decision on acquiring new AJTs will be taken very soon. And whatever difficulties have been experienced over these many years, that has quite rightly agitated my dear friend and honorable member, Rajesh Pilot. I'm sure we'll be able to overcome them without much delay.
Shri Ashok Pradhan.
Sir, sir.
What about flying train? No, please.
What about? Yes, I'm coming to that. Sir, there was the question of, one of the points that you raised was about self-reliance and whether we are moving forward or whether we are stationary. Well, we are moving forward. And there is a lot of indigenization which the Air Force workshops themselves are engaged in, HAL is engaged in, and even there are certain areas where the private sector is also engaged in producing the spare parts that we have been importing over a period of time. I'm unable to make a point, be specific about the percentage, whether we have to what point we have reached from the 30%, but I can assure the Honorable I can assure the House, sir, that we are progressing in this region. Sir, there is this problem of the pay or the implementation of the Pay Commission recommendations and taking care of the anomalies that emerged while the Pay Commission recommendations were sought to be implemented. A committee was set up under the Defense Secretary, and that committee gave its report in proper time. That report then went to a group which included the three chiefs, the chiefs of the three services. After they vetted that report went before the cabinet, and a decision has been taken on some aspects of the recommendations. There are two aspects of those recommendations which are still pending. There is a group of ministers that is seized with it at the moment, and we shall have a settlement of this matter in the next few weeks.
Shri Ashok Pradhan. Shri Ashok.
Sir, this matter was raised by the honourable member last week during question hour, and I had said then that there has been no receipt of the report. The report has not been received, and when the report is received, then the government will be able to consider it and then react.
Shri Ashok Pradhan, please. Honorable member, please.
Mana
He has given-
Dalji,
No, he has given.